MLM Nation? It's Simon Chan. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And we got a great show from a 28-year veteran who's talking about leadership. You hear people talk about leadership all the time, but what is really MLM leadership and how do you create that duplication? So we have Todd Berrier here. Todd, what's up?
What's happening, Simon? Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, super excited. Todd's also written 3 books about network marketing. Really excited to dive deep into it. And Todd, if you refresh the page, you will see it. For those who are on there, give us a shout out. And if you have a question about duplication or leadership, let us know. And let me know where you're from, where you're dialing in from. I'm out in Los Angeles, California. Todd's in Westminster, Maryland. And we got a worldwide audience here. So, Todd, you should be able to share it right now. Let me know if you see it.
I can see it. Yeah.
And so just share it and let me know when you shared it, and then we will get started so your audience can see this as well. Okay, well, I'm good to go here. And Cedric Jackson from El Paso, what's up, Cedric? And Cedric Penn here in the house, what's going on? All right, Todd, whenever you're ready, we can roll.
I'm ready, man.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. MLM Nation, this is Simon Chan. I'm fired up to bring our special guest today, someone I met recently, and an amazing story of what this profession can do in terms of residual income. And we have Todd Berrier. Hey, Todd, are you ready to make it happen?
Simon, I'm always ready, man. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Todd Berrier is a 28-year-old MLM veteran in the network marketing profession who's been full-time for the past 27 years. Not only has he made millions in profession, but he has coached and mentored multiple 6-figure earners. Aside from being a leader, Todd has also written 3 books about MLM, including his latest book here, Leading with Heart, Powerful Wisdoms for Lasting Leadership in Network Marketing. Todd's been married for 28 years, has 2 grown children, and live out in Westminster, Maryland. So Todd, I've given MLM Nation just a brief intro, but please share more about your background. I know you went to college, you have an MBA, but how did you get started with network marketing?
Yeah, Simon, I never would have imagined I would have been in network marketing. It's not really exactly something I would have envisioned as a younger guy. I grew up with a pretty low self-esteem and very much an introvert, and really never, certainly wasn't envisioning any type of career in sales. Put myself through college as a bartender. Had so much fun doing that. I did that for a few years after college. By the way, it's a great way for a shy guy to meet girls. That was sort of like, but then ended up in the banking industry and got laid off twice in a 4-year period. And the second time, and neither one of those were really because of performance. They were more because of situations involving the economy and the market and the company. But the second time, I was married and we were pregnant, and I tell you, it was one of those things. It was like a switch that said, I never want this to happen again. And so I was looking for a way to be free, and the only thing I could see were sales jobs, and I failed every sales aptitude test I ever took. They said, "You, dude, are not a salesman." So that wasn't something I was attracted to, and so I ended up in a network marketing meeting, and it was like the light bulb went off. Here's an opportunity that no one is telling me I can or cannot. I just can give it a shot, because the idea of starting a business certainly never occurred to me. And so I took the step. That was 28 years ago.
So once you got started, did you go back? I know you said you were full-time for 27 years, but got started for 28. Did you have a job for the first year before you went full-time?
Yeah, because at the time that I got into the industry, once I got laid off, I had to find a port in the storm, because, I was the primary income earner and we were pregnant. So I got another job in the banking industry, but it wasn't enough money. So I also was tending bar at night 3 nights a week. So I would, go to work during the day, and then I would come home and have dinner with my wife, and then I would get in the car and drive 45 minutes to a nightclub and work until 3 or 4 in the morning, and get up the next day and do it all over again. So that's what I was doing when I first got into the industry. And then I ultimately left the bank job and just worked as a bartender for the next several months. And we just were scraping it together until I was able to go full time.
So how was your first couple of weeks like? Obviously, you did pretty well your first year. You were able to go full time. You're laughing right now. So how was the first couple of weeks? And because you came from banking into network marketing.
I would say the first couple of weeks were brutal, Simon, because, here again, this is so far out of my comfort zone. I mean, I'm an introvert. I'm also very non-confrontational, and personality assessments show that rejection is the thing I'm the most fearful of. So you want to really test that. And so, the idea of even making a phone call, that was really difficult for me. And obviously, I wasn't a person who had developed much credibility. So it's not like I'd call people and say, hey, I've got this great business opportunity. You should take a look at it. And they're like, oh, boy, okay. It was quite the opposite. I learned pretty fast that it was going to take me a while to develop the skills because I endured a lot of difficult rejection from the people close to me, and particularly my family and some of my better friends. It was really tough. But, I think it was really, it's just the truth. This is one of the first times in my life that I didn't quit something that was hard. That had been my history, is that as soon as things got difficult in life, I just sort of left, because when you don't have a high self-opinion, then as soon as something starts to get challenging, which everything that's of merit in life has struggles and difficulties. That's part of it. But you tend to walk away because your expectation is that it won't work out. And so this time, maybe because we were married and had a new baby, because my son was born 2 weeks later, I instead of going, you're right, I'm an idiot. This is 1989. Nobody knew people who were doing home businesses in 1989. You really did. I really was like a Martian at that time. But my attitude was, I'll show you. And that was kind of what drove me. I wanted to develop freedom and something for my family more than I wanted other people's approval. And so I was willing to do what it took to learn what I had to learn. And it was really hard. It was really hard for me at first, but I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it, calling and calling and calling until it got a little more comfortable. And ultimately I developed a style which made it really comfortable for me to do and made people open to me.
So what was that style? Because you're shy, introverted, and thank you for sharing, not quitting. And you're doing it over. I mean, that's one thing that's guaranteed. If you do it over and over and over and over again, do a lot of it, eventually you find something that works, right? So what was that style that worked for you?
Yeah, it was, I couldn't operate off of any type of tactic or script. I had to be genuine and nice. And, one of the things I'm really happy about in my upbringing is my mother taught me kindness and respect. And so that's how I approached people. And because my attitude always has been, people need what we have to offer. They needed it then, just like they need it more now. But even then, people need other avenues. And so if you can make people comfortable enough to learn about what you're doing, they'll take a look at it. And so I just learned to be myself and be real and be nice and honest and respectful and let people know, hey, if this isn't for you, it's okay. And that approach of comfort allowed other people to feel safe to check it out. And then from there, you're just in a conversation and they learn. And so I became very, very good at sponsoring, even though I wasn't, gifted in sales.
What was there a specific turning point or a light bulb moment where your business really started taking off and you're like, wow, this is awesome. I got this.
Yeah, there was, I would say that there's a couple of times, Simon, because I had some success in my early years, and then that success was followed by failure because I made some really big mistakes financially and ended up with, basically broke 7 years later with a lot of education and restarting. So I would say that the first aha moment was like 7 or 8 months into the experience, learning that you really should make a list of every person you ever communicated with in your life if you touched them at all in any way, shape, or form, anyone that you could remember or could remember you, because that was a big game changer for me to learn that. I hadn't learned that. And then just systematically communicate with people, because that's what led to my earliest success. But probably my biggest aha moment came at an event that I spoke at, because I was terrified, absolutely absolutely terrified to speak in front of people. As a matter of fact, some of my earlier stories are pretty daggone funny, of speaking in front of groups. But there was an event that I was asked to speak at because I had I had a modicum of success, and I'll never forget it. It was in Atlantic City, and there was about 3,000 people there, and I was terrified all day. I was sitting in the front row. I only had 5 minutes on stage late in the day, so the whole day I'm like freaking out because I got to go up there later. And I'll never forget going up on stage, and I turned around, and all of a sudden I went from totally terrified to, it was this moment where I recognized that the thing I love to do is teach and serve people from a teaching and training capacity. And that changed my business, because that is really what this is for me. It's a way to serve people through teaching and helping them understand what's possible. So that changed the whole scope of what everything was about for me. It turned it from it's about me to it's about whoever I'm working with. That I'd have to say that was probably one of the biggest defining moments for me.
Thank you for sharing that. So let's transition. I have a couple of things to ask you about your past when you first started, but since you brought that up, let's talk about leadership, because leadership is about serving people, and it's something you talk a lot about. It's ironic you love to talk, but you used to be terrified until you had the aha moment. So I'm holding right here, Leading with Heart, Powerful Wisdom for Lasting Leadership in Network Marketing. This is your latest book. So talk a little bit about leadership. What is really leadership in network marketing? What are some of the mistakes that you see people make? Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, Simon, you got to be careful, man. We might not have enough time for this topic. This is my favorite topic to teach, because really learning and cultivating your leadership in this industry is so huge to long-term success. Pretty much anybody who works hard can build a business, at least in the short term, just through doing the process, right? Because it really is, success is inevitable if you'll just talk to people, right? But doing is not leading. Leading is an entirely different animal, and the transition from doing to leading is an entirely different thing. Because leadership, especially in our work, but really the best leaders in the world lead from a servant perspective, right? They lead from not a control perspective. And so where you see the biggest errors in leadership are trying to lead by power, right? Trying to lead by force and control and power, when the truth is, effectively, the only way you can lead volunteers, which is what a network is. These are people that are getting involved for their own reasons, to create their own life and their own freedoms and their own successes. You can only lead them through influence, right? They have to want to follow you. They don't have any other reason to follow you. And so I classically see that corporate sort of mindset drift over to someone who's beginning to build an organization, and they feel like, they can tell people what to do. Now you have to actually earn the right to tell someone what to do. And that's a big, big difference.
Really good stuff. You must earn the right. So if someone's new and they've never been a leader before, or maybe they're like your background, you just had a corporate job, how can they work on their leadership?
Well, it starts from the very first moment you engage people. There's really I detail this a little bit in the book, but I teach it also whenever I'm teaching corporations or, training leadership in networking. It starts literally from developing your credibility with someone, which comes from two primary aspects. I learned this through John Maxwell years ago. I don't know if he was the first guy to come up with this, but your credibility is this beautiful combination of your demonstrated or perceived competencies and your demonstrated or perceived character. And I use the word perceived because both of those things are perceptions to the people that you are leading, right? Warren Buffett says when the tide goes out, you see who's swimming naked. So it's up to us to make those perceptions realities, which have to be purposeful, right? I mean, everybody looks good in times of growth, but what about in times of challenge? What about in times of struggle? What about in times of conflict? How do you look then? That's what will reveal who you actually are, right? And who you are is what people follow, right? So it starts with just being diligent in your work and doing what you say you're going to do. And then as it relates to the people that you're sponsoring and working with, you need to be available for them. You need to show them that you care about them, that you're putting their interests first, that you're working to serve them where they are and not trying to make them be what you want them to be. That's another classic challenge. The difference between motivation and manipulation, is you want to help someone, you serve people where they are. And so they have to know really that you care about them. And so that's kind of the fundamentals that start. And then there's, obviously, as you go forward and time goes, like one of the primary things you hear a lot about is leading by example, right? You got to lead by example. And I think a lot of leaders or people in a position of leadership, which that's another interesting dichotomy, a position of leadership is any position of influence, right? So someone might be at the top of their pay plan in the company, and that is an achievement position. And so it could be a leadership position, but people only follow you because they want to. And so it needs to be a true connection. And so it's not about the position, it's about the person. So when you're leading by example, you need to be exempling in all aspects, right? And a classic mistake is to think that leadership is in a vacuum, when in fact it's not. The way people look at people in leadership is they tend to analyze them in every facet because they're looking for flaws. They're looking for, what's wrong with this person as opposed to what's right. Are they congruent? Are they who they say they are? Or do they do what they talk about? That's the kind of stuff people really look at deeply. But so it's not hard. It's basic principles are how you begin to develop the foundation of leadership.
Awesome wisdom here, dropping nuggets of wisdom. Todd Berrier. Hey, folks on Facebook Live, if you like this, let us know. Please share this on Facebook. Let us know. That's how we know you like these type of interviews. I'm going to go a little deeper on leadership because you did talk about your aha moment was in an event. What should a leader do at an event, an MLM event? What are some things they should be doing? What would you do if you have your team coming to obviously you're promoting it, but at the event, what are some things the leader should be doing?
Well, the first thing the leader should do is show up. So, the leader, you can't expect people to show up if you don't show up. So showing up is the first thing. Next is being attentive and learning. Right? You'll see the leaders, some leaders step out of the room and not be in there in the space, right? You got to demonstrate learning. They got to demonstrate the fact that, any single nugget that you get from an event can change your life. And so if the people that you are working with see that you're not paying attention, they're not going to take it as seriously. So next would be introduce people to as many other people who are building, growing, developing, having stories as possible. Don't put your people in a vacuum. That's really a huge one because, you might be the greatest leader there is. You might be the greatest example that there is, but you're still only one person. And that means that there's only so many people, and in so many ways, people can connect with you and relate to you. So you want people to experience as many stories as possible because you never know. It's pretty ironic, right? I mean, the smallest thing coming out of someone else's mouth makes someone go, holy cow, that's it, that's the thing. And, you might think, well, I said that 7 times. It doesn't matter. It was you saying it. It was another person. So, show up, be attentive, get people to meet other people. I think those would be, from an event, especially one you weren't running that you were just at, I think those are the most important things.
Awesome stuff. I want to backtrack a little bit now. Talk about time management. I think that's something people struggle a lot nowadays, especially distributors, because no one has enough time. So, but when you started, you just got married, and your son's about being born. So, pregnant wife, they have especially more needs, right? And then your son was born, your new father, and you worked a bank job, and you had to go bartend to 3 a.m. in the morning, drive for. So how did you even have time to build a business? And what was any time management tips for you to share?
Yeah, Obviously, time utilization then was way different than now, Simon, because when I first started, I didn't have the internet. I didn't even know how to use a computer, but there wasn't the internet for me anyway at that point, right? And that was at a period of time when the primary window to talk to people was in the evening from 6:30 to 9. That was it, right? And you had to call them on, a phone that was attached to a cord that was attached to a wall or something. And they had to be near their phone. You didn't have all these mediums of communication and information. And so then it was purely a disciplining of, okay, this is my window. So from this period to this period, on the nights that I can, I work. On Saturday, I work. On Sunday night, I work, right? So whenever I knew people were available and I could, that's when I'd be on the phone calling and calling and calling and calling. But time utilization in today's world is a totally different animal. I mean, the ability to interact with people, to share information, to work across, you can work across the world, you can work across time, even in your domestic areas. Nowadays, the time utilization is almost not a factor. It's really about discipline, because the ability to connect with people through social media and through your handheld device, it's unbelievable. The business has never been simpler or easier to work. That doesn't make it easy to succeed, because anything of value is still going to require you to grow and have struggles and have doubts and have challenges and have people that tell you you're crazy. Right? That's part of the recipe for success, whether you're doing this or whether you're opening a coffee shop. Doesn't make any difference what you're doing. But time utilization now is really about just disciplining to do it. It's not a lack of time for anyone. It's just that's not the case, because it's too easy to work in any space now, time-wise.
That is a good point. Like, when you have too many options, a lot of times you don't do anything, right? Like, it's like if you're hungry, if there's only one food to eat, you're going to eat that food. But when there's so many options, like buffet, you don't even know where to start, right? You actually have more paralysis. Because you're right, you can communicate and prospect at any second of the day, right? And,
yes.
You say, well, it's too late in Maryland, but hey, you can go out on Facebook and connect with someone who's wide awake up in Australia and find a prospect there. There really is no bad time to contact someone, because you are global now. So how do you install some of that discipline? Like, if someone's like, well, I don't have the discipline, I'm struggling, what advice could you give that person?
On one hand, I'm a great person to answer this question, Simon. On the other hand, people might think, if they know me now, I'm such a discipline freak that I'm not a great person to answer it. So I will tell you that as a person who grew up with no discipline whatsoever, the first thing is to actually develop the understanding of how important it is. I call it you're building your commitment muscles. And so the way I started, which now bleeds into everything I do in my life, but this was, 29 or 30 years ago, I started just the discipline of 15 minutes of exercise. That was my first little commitment, because I was not in the kind of shape I wanted to be in. And then when I added personal development to that, which was another great thing that came out of my introduction to this industry, because that was a life changer for me. I added the discipline of reading 15 minutes a day. Commitment to those two disciplines, first of all, showed me I could keep a commitment to myself, which is really a huge thing, because then you're like, okay, if I can do this, what else can I do? And so I literally personally built my own commitment muscles, and then that translates into everything I ever do. Because if I decide to do something, I simply chunk it, right? I've never been the hare. I've always been the turtle, right? But I am the turtle. I'll be the turtle. I got no problem, because he typically gets where he's going to go. And so I would say you start with small disciplines that you can repeat, and you commit to those. If you struggle to get yourself moving, maybe it's something as simple as 3 contacts today, right? Is 3 contacts going to build you an empire overnight? No, even 300 isn't going to build it overnight, but 3 is certainly not going to make you go fast, but it's a step. And if you make those 3 contacts, you step back and go, okay, I made that commitment. I did that commitment. And you see that little triumph, right? It's a concept of Kaizen, right? Which was talked about years ago. That's how you do it, right? You start with a small bite you can bite. And then you take another bite, and then you take it. And after a while, it becomes a habit. Discipline becomes a habit. Once it's a habit, it's game over. Then you just do it and do it and do it and do it and do it, whatever it is.
Yeah, really good. It's like you said, it's really like a muscle. Doing a small little thing that just, and then over time, you get stronger and stronger. Like you can't do 100 push-ups if you can't even do 5, right? But if you do 1 push-up today and do one push-up for 20 straight days, you'll be able to do 10 within a month, and then you get to the 100. And that's the same thing with discipline. None of us are born with discipline. I definitely wasn't disciplined, but when I saw you, when we met, I was like, man, this guy must be disciplined because. And then when I found out you have 2 grown kids, it's like you're ripped, you're in great shape. So check this out. Though me and Todd, we're hanging out. We're at this retreat, right? A mastermind retreat, and this guy, we're all dressed business casual. He's dressed like, you definitely know he's, people talk about dressing smart. You know this guy has residual income. But he comes in, and everyone's dressed in business casual. I have my Henley and my jeans and my typical look. And he comes in with shorts, flip-flops, and the shirt, but his biceps are ripped. I'm like, what, this guy must be making good money. And he obviously doesn't care because his money's rolling in, and he's living the lifestyle. And he's probably pretty young, and then found out he has 2 grown kids. So like, whoa. MLM's treated you well.
Too kind, Simon.
Yeah, no, seriously, that's what I thought.
Blushing in front of the world.
Yeah, I think this guy is either clueless or he's made it because he can do whatever he wants, doesn't care. He's got residual income coming in, and then I found out you've been in 28 years in the profession. This is my favorite question. Okay, in your 28 years, what is your worst moment in network marketing to the point that most people definitely have quit? And you probably was miserable, but you hung in there. That's why you are where you are today.
Oh boy, when you have the kind of amount of years that I've been doing this, my worst moments are like bigger periods than a moment. You know what I mean? Like a really bad moment was a meeting I was doing in Pittsburgh once for 100 people a million years ago, where in the middle of a sentence, I totally forgot what I was saying and I had completely lost track of where I was. That wasn't a fun moment, but the more poignant moment was a period of years where I just was not doing well. This was in the early to mid 90s, and had made some serious financial mistakes and was really questioning myself and, can I really do this? And, literally had almost lost everything financially and just felt lower than low. So I have to say that period, that struggle, which ultimately served me phenomenally well, which all of our struggles do, that was the moment, so to speak, for me. It was a moment of probably 3 years that were incredibly difficult, where anyone would have said, you're a lunatic to continue. Now, again, the business is a lot different in those days. Now you can easily continue and build a business because of the way you can work with time, but it was a lot more cumbersome. That's a good word. It's a lot more cumbersome to work in the industry back in the early 90s. And at that period, it was, everybody basically was like, okay, see, told you it wouldn't work. See, that was tough, man. That was a challenging time.
But why did you stay in there? Why did you stay in the profession? If that you're supposed to give you freedom and then actually, make things even tougher.
I'm so glad you're asking that question. There's two primary reasons that I stayed in. One, the idea of going to work for somebody else, I'm sorry, but that's just not a possibility for me. And it wasn't then. I just refused to be in a situation. I didn't care what I had to do. I wasn't going to be in a situation where someone could tell me what to do. Even if I didn't have any money, I wasn't going to be in that situation. But the bigger, probably more driving one is, even though I was struggling, and this time and space, I had 2 children, and both of them, right when I was almost at the end of my rope, so to speak, before things really turned and changed for me dramatically. They were 5 and 7. They had never seen me go to a job. I had seen everything they ever did, every word they ever spoke. I participated in all their activities. I fully was involved in their lives. As a matter of fact, my kids, by the time they were 18, I spent more time with my children than most parents would in 3 lifetimes, Simon. And if someone can put a dollar value on that, I'd like to see it, because it's an unbelievable experience that I'm forever grateful for. And I owe it to the industry, regardless of how hard it was for me for a while. That alone, forget all the other incredible things that have happened in my life from it, that alone is magical.
Very, very inspiring. How have you seen the profession change? You said, like, obviously a lot easier to do since just 28 years ago, but are people more open to network marketing? I mean, of course, you still seems like negativity, but are the people generally more open to network marketing than it was back in the late 80s?
Absolutely. And not by a little, by a lot. Yeah, you're still going to run into someone that says, isn't that one of those pyramid things or something like that? And, that doesn't, and that's just ignorance, and I don't begrudge someone because they don't have knowledge about something. But, how can you refute an industry that's 100 million strong at this point, people-wise, and growing? And, so you have two things that have happened dramatically, and which is why the industry we haven't seen anything yet. It's really going to explode in the next decade. But you have everybody's apple cart that they grew up with has been overturned, right? The idea that, I grew up in the last generation that thought that you could get a job and it would last. Now the average career, I heard this statistic today, the average career is 4.5 years. The career, not job. Career. People are changing careers every 4.5 years. Why? Because they don't know what to do. And so you have their apple carts have been turned upside down. At the same time, technology has exploded and made it so much easier to work. But the other thing that's just a fact is self-evidency, right? It's when I started, there was nobody around me that I could point to and say, oh, that guy over there, he's building something from home. But now every community has people like me, right? That have built significant businesses, but it doesn't even have to be significant businesses, right? Some of the most meaningful money in this industry is $300 to $500 a month. That changes the life of a family that's struggling, right? Which is just a massive thing, because it's something that someone is able to create on their own instead of going to a part-time job that's linear income that the minute they stop it goes away, and it's not building something for their future. So you have this incredible period of time where just all of the economics, and I could spend a while on this because it's sort of an area of expertise for me. The economics are clearly pointing that we are an entrepreneurial society, and it's only going to get greater. And so I just think that most people who used to think they knew it all clearly know they don't know it all anymore, because they don't really know what to do, or they're not really sure what the avenues are going to be for them in the future. And this industry it's a major solution,
Yes, I definitely agree with that. Very, very good. Hey, you've been awesome, and this has been a lot of fun. We can talk forever and forever. It's good stuff with substance here. A lot of deep thoughts. But we got to kind of wrap up the show. But some quick questions to pick your brain. One of them is, what is one of your favorite success quotes that motivates you?
Yeah, it's an oldie but goodie, and it's a Zig Ziglar. Help enough other people get what they want, and you'll get what you want. Because it's all about helping others first, and that's purely it's what drives me. Helping others makes me feel phenomenal. I love that aspect of our work.
What is one habit that's helped you become successful?
Developing discipline. And so I guess I would say the habit of personal development on purpose, that was the linchpin habit. But every day I invest in it.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
It was a Jim Rohnism, and I was blessed to have dinner with Jim Rohn a couple of times. But to achieve more, you must become more.
What's your favorite prospecting tool? So say you have a qualified prospect nowadays. Do you send them a link to an online video? Do you meet with them and use a flip chart? Do you do a webinar or Zoom? What do you like to use?
If I'm going to use a tool that's not me, it would be a video. But telling the story, personally telling the story is my favorite thing to do, because nothing is more powerful than that. And it's as duplicatable as a video if people get it. But I like a video as another tool. An online video is a great tool.
Do you have a favorite online resource, like a Dropbox or Evernote, or favorite app on your phone that you could recommend?
I actually don't. I'm just becoming technically savvy to some degree, Simon. So I don't. There isn't anything that I use exterior. I have my own blog and stuff like that, but I don't.
And here, actually, what's one book, aside from your book, and we'll talk about how you can get your book later, what's one book you could recommend to MLM Nation?
Yeah, I think one of the greatest books ever for building this business is Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World.
Definitely. Og Mandino, definitely check that out. And Todd, here's the last question, the $1 million question. Are you ready?
Go ahead, Simon.
So imagine you had to start all over again and you knew no one. You're kind of like an alien that went to another planet. You didn't know your kids. You didn't know your wife. You didn't know me. Contact list of 0. But you had all your current knowledge, skills, and wisdom. What's the first thing you would do or the first place you go to build an MLM business from scratch?
Does it just have to be one?
Couple places. You can do it. It could be a couple places.
Okay.
Couple things.
Then that's easy. One is I would work through social media to make contacts like a maniac. And the second is I would go to every influential person in the community. I'd find out who the influential people were in the community, and I would go and talk to every one of them.
Good stuff. Hey, you've been amazing, Todd. As we wrap up, do you have any last words or advice? And also, what's the best way our listeners can connect with you and also get your books?
So the best way to connect with me is I've recently launched my fan page. So facebook.com/Todd Berrier, or my blog, which is toddberrier.com. So those are probably the two best places right now to find me. And my piece of advice is that it doesn't matter who you are enough. You don't need to be like anybody else. You have been blessed with everything you personally need. So develop yourself and be okay with the fact that you have what you need, because you can do it and you have what you're supposed to have, right? So don't think, oh, I'm not like this or I'm not like that, because someone else is looking at you going, hey, I'm not like that, right? So you have what you need. Trust that you do. And, just simply take the steps every day. You make success inevitable working the process every day. That's the beautiful thing about this. So that's my last little nugget, Simon. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been an honor to spend the time with you, man. Thanks.
ML Nation, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And today, you've been hanging out with Todd Berrier. So keep up the momentum and go to mlnation.net and type in Todd at the search bar, TODD, at the search bar, in the show notes, and all the nuggets of wisdom and the links to Todd's books will be there. In order to be successful in life and in network marketing, Todd, you must help others. So thanks again, Todd, for sharing your valuable time with ML Nation. We're grateful to you, and we appreciate you for having a positive impact on millions of distributors worldwide. Thanks so much again, Todd, and God bless you.
Thanks again, Simon. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, awesome show. Hey, Todd, hang in there. I want to talk to you personally for a second. Let me just wrap up this Facebook Live feed. Hey, Facebook Live, great show. Really big nuggets of wisdom about leadership, especially from time management to leadership at events, and also developing that muscle. If you have trouble with discipline, staying focused, know that every single muscle, Todd gave you great, excellent examples there. And if you can't read 15 minutes, go read for 1 minute, but get that muscle going. Hey, time for you to take action. This is Todd Berrier here with Simon Chan on ML Nation. It's time for you to go out there and remember, we're in the profession to help others. So go out there and have a positive impact on someone's life today. God bless you all.